to go up on the top of the Duomo and check it out.
Hey, well, I'll try to do that. Hey, Tommy Carrigan, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining. This has got to be the most exciting thing in your day, easily.
100%. Well, I know. I mean, I got up and cleaned my apartment and went to the gym. There's not really anything else going on, man. Of course it is. It's 100% the most exciting part of my day. And the most exciting part of my day is waking up and putting nasal spray in because my allergies is so bad. Yeah, this is absolutely the best part of my day.
Okay. Well, have you had any exciting interviews this week?
This past week I had on Joe Flynn, General Flynn's brother. That one was cool. Yeah. He's gonna come back on. I don't know. I kind of. Yesterday I had on Ron Moeller, who's a former CIA Special Activities Division guy. He was involved in like continuity of government planning in like the 80s and stuff, and he's been at like Raven Rock, and he helped plan a lot of the PSYOPs, not like psychological warfare, but SIOPS, and it was for the nuclear attack plans in the Cold War and stuff. So that guy was pretty cool. Yeah. I only did a couple this week. I've been extremely sick this whole week, but nobody gives a shit about me. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you're in SoCal. Forgot.
Yeah. And it's still a little cold there in Italy, right? In Milan.
Yeah, it's a little cold. I had to wear a jacket today, but we're hoping for better weather. I want the coronavirus to come out. It's sort of like, the Larko bunting. If you're a photographer, there's certain weather conditions where the bird of paradise will come out if it's perfect conditions. And I want the people who were affected by coronavirus in September of 2019. I'm hoping for perfect conditions tomorrow that I can meet them all.
Well, if you don't get them, Milan also famously has the most beautiful and I believe the first indoor shopping mall in the world, which is the Galleria, which is just on the left side of the Duomo there. So if you're standing in front of the Duomo looking at it, it's on the left side there. And that's a fantastic place to just go hang out too. And it's all covered. So if the weather is bad, it's a nice place to go.
This is one of those things where I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Bologna, and I know you have a lot of Bologna stories.
I have Bologna stories, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is like when you say, where somebody has like 8 minutes left at Disneyland on their pass, until 4 o'clock, and you say, and if you don't go to this thing.
Okay, so in between Bologna and Milan on the train, if you don't take the express train, is Parma.
Yeah.
And you can stop and you can actually get Parmesan cheese from Parma. And I've done that. And so not that you can't buy it in Milan or Bologna, because they sell it in Milan and Bologna.
There's something about Parma cheese in Parma.
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. So I'll try to make a long story short. I had a good buddy in Los Angeles, and he met this girl an Italian girl who's taking language classes at UCLA, and she fell in love with him. And he convinced her that she should be a model, and he got Bruce Weber to take pictures of her and put her in a Calvin Klein campaign. And her parents were furious, and we didn't exactly understand why her parents were furious. But she went back to Italy because she was just here for the summer, and she found out that I was moving to Italy. And when I told her that I was coming, she goes, "Oh, when you get here, you're going to be jet lagged. Why don't you come stay at my family's house? We have lots of, we have extra rooms. It's not a problem, and you'll be jet lagged anyway. So just get on the train when you land at Malpensa and come down to Bologna and stay at my house until you're not jet lagged anymore." Because she was in love with this guy, and I was his best friend. So anyway, I take the train, I go down to Bologna, and these 3 beautiful women pick me up in their Fiat Panda, which is like the smallest. The only thing smaller than a Panda is like a Cinquanta Fiat 500, which is a tiny little car. And I jump into this car with these 3 girls, and they drive me back to this villa. And because her grandmother is the Baroness of Bologna, and her father has converted the stable that used to hold 24 horses into and not only did it have 24 horses, but it was also the lodging for all of the people who took care of the horses. So it was like, I don't know, 12,000 square feet, 15,000 square foot house. It had servants. It had, a housekeeper and a chef and a butler. And they gave me my own room. And it was like, wow. Like in the United States, you don't think, you don't see royalty, right? You don't see that stuff. But like when somebody invites you over to their house and they say they've got extra rooms and it turns out they're royalty, pretty interesting. It was kind of, I had a very, very pleasant experience there. It was great.
Well, I was just going to say, this kind of sounds like the Tommy Carrigan story. With the three girls, the sports car,
George has this delusional idea that women throw themselves at me. He has this like romanticized idea that I don't just do podcasts from a solo bedroom in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's fun to dream.
I mean, I'll feed into the image if it helps grow the podcast. I'll prop up the image that everything's good in Camelot, or it's like the idea that the White House with the Kennedys was Camelot, not that JFK was addicted to back pills and cheating on his wife 6 days a week. Just prop up the image of it's Camelot, not just absolute and utter chaos and an abomination to all that is holy.
Well, Jackie did, I know for a fact, ask for the sheets to be changed twice a day in the Lincoln bedroom. And I can't help but think it was because of Jack Kennedy's extracurricular activity.
I like to think that Jackie had Jack killed. No one ever thinks CIA. It was the mob. It was the Cubans. It was the Soviets. It was the
357 in her purse.
Yeah. No one ever looks at that. It was her. She was crawling on the back of the thing to go pick up the shell casings. That's what it was. Jackie.
There's those missing frames.
Yes.
From the Zapruder film. Right. If you go back and you splice those in from Time Magazine and
Jackie put the 357 right under her arm and just pow, boom, back and to the left. And that's what it was. That's what you get, you cheating bastard. Yeah, and then she goes off and lives with Onassis. That's what it was.
Yeah. After she gave Dan Rather a bag of cash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kaboom. That's what it is. It all goes back to Jackie Kennedy. So
that only leaves us one other conspiracy, and that's the root cause of COVID-19. And that's reductio ad absurdum. But, hey, if the Minister of Information can do it, I can do it too, right? Just say, well, now that we've solved that one, the only other thing is the story I'm working on.
Still 9/11. We gotta figure that one out.
Oh, that's going to be the blackberries again. Yeah. It's always the blackberries.
Am I getting suckered into a low-hanging fruit conspiracy about all those food processing plants being destroyed? Am I getting sucked into some QAnon shit? Because I love conspiracies, and because of that, I kind of have to stay somewhat like aware of my insobriety, in that I get intoxicated by conspiracies. I just love them. And what do y'all think about that? The fact there's been like however many are we witnessing a government engineered famine, or is that is that way off? Because I also remember in 2012 them saying like Jade Helm, like everyone's going to be in FEMA camps in 8 months, and then it's been a decade and no one's in the FEMA camps.
Well, I have some facts I could throw at you. Ice Age Farmer has been documenting all of the food catastrophes that are happening right now, and so if you want to go look at a map and click on things and see the dates and what happened, he's got them all kind of documented here. And I think that little new pins. There was a Walmart distribution center
like two or 3 days ago.
Yeah, so so here's 300,000 chickens killed at the Vandy Bunt Boonty Poultry Farm in Oswego, Michigan. The network news studio guys could go check that out, right? Royal Grain Elevator explosion. 400,000 chickens perish in Bloomfield, Northeast poultry plant fire.
I'm less concerned about like when they kill off animals, because that does happen.
Well, I know that in Iowa last month, 4.5 million chickens. They gave a PCR test for avian flu, and then they killed 3.5 million chickens. And instead of reopening the plant, they laid off the 160 workers. That was also all reported on. The two good sources for that are Ice Age Farmer and Organic Prepper. This is the Ice Age Farmer mostly does videos about it, but I can pull up the article on the Organic Prepper also while you riff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking out of turn because it's absolutely not like my field of expertise, but I'm less concerned with like the killing off of animals, because although that's suspect, it does happen. Like it does happen a lot. It's the burning down of the food processing plants.
Right.
That's what gets me.
Yep.
George?
Well, I haven't really followed the story because I'm still doing the coronavirus thing. But sometimes I think, it's not the government. I only need, if I'm like doing disruption and I'm George Soros, I only need like 8 guys that didn't do well in high school algebra, right? That aren't going to college this year. And I only need to show them like how to use a lighter and, a stick of C4.
Yeah.
And, or whatever, to put it on the right burner or boiler or whatever. And did you see the size of that fire at Indianapolis Walmart?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what's getting me is...
At the beginning of Corona, one of the Amazon distribution centers in California burned to the ground too.
Yeah, but like some of these fires though, this is stuff you'd expect at like 1910 buildings. Like these things are built with insulation and like massive sprinkler systems and fire detection systems. And these things are all just going up, and no one knows. It just keeps and it's just one of the things where it's like, well, I guess this is a thing that happens, and we're just kind of walking into it like, well, I suppose Saddam does have weapons of mass destruction, and it's like we're just walking on into this. Just no one cares.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. James Corbett also started playing a game, and everybody watching can play along with this game, is that every time one of these big food distribution companies gets hacked, and there's a shutdown of the supply chain based on some kind of hack of a food supply system, invariably these big giant food companies are members of the World Economic Forum. He calls it 1 degree of World Economic Forum. So and actually that's a great game to play. If you take any business that's like a giant business that's having some kind of catastrophic problem right now, and then you do the famous George Webb compound search with World Economic Forum or WEF, they're almost without exception. They are like this. They are connected with World Economic Forum. So it may just be self-inflicted denial of service.
And also remember, they just bought the insurance, and they went overboard buying insurance, right?
Right. Yeah. There were 2 vice presidents that were both negotiating different deals at the same time, and they didn't know that the other vice president was negotiating the deal. So somehow they were double insured or triple insured,
Silverman Building 7,
exactly. There's gotta be a thing now though, where if you're working at a food processing plant, even if you don't believe in a conspiracy, you've gotta start going, hey, there's a let's play complete brain dead devil's advocate. Maybe there's something in the processing, I don't know, the processing process that they haven't worked out before, and it's something where like they find out baby powder's dangerous 20 years later, or that, you know, cigarettes are maybe there's something, regardless of what it is, whether it's engineered by Klaus and the boys, or whether it's just, it really is a natural phenomena. Regardless of what it is, if that's your company, you gotta be like, hey, maybe let's just let's do a once over of some fire drills and make sure all the sprinkler systems work, right? I mean, or are you just working there going, it's just like a game of Battleship, like E4, like, oh, the one across town burned down today. It wasn't us, boys. Like, no, if that's your company, even if you're just the manager, some part of you is like, I don't know, just maybe put up another security camera. Just something's going on.
Yeah, but the security cameras, when the going gets tough, the security cameras go down.
Oh, well, of course, those are the first things that go. It's like women and children first. It's the security cameras stay on the ship, and they're like, I'm going down with it, boys. Shooting, explosion, plane hitting the Pentagon, security cameras are the first out. They're just like, gotta roll.
There was actually a hacking, they give them names, hacking algorithm to take out the security cameras before any op at CIA, and it was called Dumbo Drop. And Dumbo Drop would drop all the cameras, and then you would go do the op. I don't know how I know that, but it's been done, and I think I know that because
Is it because Walt Disney was the first person to learn how to knock out security cameras?
No, it was. It goes back to that stupid Las Vegas shooting. And they had a...
It's only stupid if you didn't get shot.
True. That's true.
This wonky
I just think
massacre.
It's stupid to talk about it for 3 years. You know, it's not like coronavirus. The most important thing that kills 5 million people, that affects the world, shuts down the world, and is a part of the Great Reset that's going to affect all of our lives for the rest of our lives. You know, the Las Vegas shooting is horrible. But it was, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and it affected a limited number of people. But you have people doing show after show after show after show. I don't know. Maybe the food plant thing will fall into the same category. Maybe not. I did a couple of food plant stories in 2017 where there was these girls that were murdered. So you just wonder, is this cleanup on aisle 7 for the DNA? Because they had been kind of being used as safe houses or safe work havens. You know, it's like when you go to a slaughter pen, you know, a slaughterhouse, a rendering yard, nobody asks you for your passport. Nobody says, hey, you know, tell me about yourself. You know, nobody goes through a formal interview process.
They say, are you good with a machete?
Yeah, they just say, here, go. And if you last till the end of the day, they go, hey, this one might make it to the end of the week, Bob. You know, there is no formal vetting process here at these slaughterhouses, okay? And that's why they make great intake centers for immigrants. And so the theory that I was working on, and I went out to a couple of the plants where these murders were, there seemed to be a lot of people coming and going with nobody asking any questions. And there was a lot of DNA coming and going. So you just wonder if this is kind of a trope or a method that they've been using to bring in operatives from overseas, and now they're like, oops, somebody figured it out, let's burn it down.
But all
I can't remember. Wasn't it John Sullivan that said, let's burn this burn the ship?
Wasn't Judith Vary Baker and Lee Harvey Oswald, they were working at a coffee importing company or something like that
O'Reilly's Coffee
in New Orleans? You know, it was like
O'Reilly's Coffee. And you know, otherwise, if you spent too much time down at the dock after coffee hours, people would start talking. But if you work for O'Reilly Coffee down there at the Port of New Orleans, all bets are off.
Right. So slaughterhouses are like coffee importers. Like Like,
yeah.
And I've told this story before, but I was driving my daughter to school a couple of years ago, and we were passing the 15th going out of business rug store that had been there for 20 years, and she looked at me and she said, "Dad, is it safe to assume that any business that doesn't actually really make sense is actually a money laundry?" And I thought, this is my proudest moment as a father. My daughter kind of connected these dots this way.
You've succeeded there. Yeah. So Tommy, who else on the show? The Pope. I mean, you interview a lot of people. You get a lot of great interviews.
Fuck the Pope. He can't come on.
You wouldn't have him on?
Oh, I'd have him on. I'd absolutely have him on. I'd kiss his ass. What are you talking about? Of course I would. I tried to get Anthony Fauci on. The secretary said no. Okay. I wasn't going to ambush him. I wasn't going to have Dr. Malone pop up out of nowhere, although that would have been great.
Maybe Peter McCullough.
Have McCullough pop on, start boxing him. No, I'm still just kind of focused on, like, the food plans. It just, I mean, is this something I'm just hyper focused on now? Like, no one cares about the kids in the cages when it's Obama. Everyone cares when it's Trump. No one cares when it's Biden. And that's just something where we're all staring at, like, or no one cares about drone strikes under Obama, but Trump's a demon or whatever. No, okay, or vice versa. No one cares when Trump prints $2 trillion, but Biden does it, and it's the destruction of America. There's just something. It's like we're staring it in the face, and everyone's like, "Huh, that sure is wonky." Even if it's a completely natural phenomenon, let's just say it is. The fact that these are food processing plants, they don't make socks. They don't make dog collars. They make food for us, carbon-based life forms that need these macronutrients several times a day to survive. We're just all watching it like, shucks, that sure is that's sure wacky. They're all just going up in infernos.
Well, I'm not sitting around waiting to find out. Frankly, I'm planting to the extent that I can. Carrie and I are going to go out in the garden after this podcast today, and we're going to plant a bunch of food. And the advice that, it's interesting because the guy who does, one of the guys on the Duke Report is a guy who does a web, he's Irish, and his channel is Computing Forever. And he's very thoughtful, philosophically sophisticated guy who's aware of what's going on. And, a lot of people are, we talked about this last week, Tommy. He said you can't eat too many red pills in a day because you OD, and going out and doing something about it probably involves taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And stop trying to convince your neighbors that the 75 food plants that have burned down in the last month are going to impact them.
Yeah.
Because Fox News tells them that there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
That it's actually time to go get a hoe, and I'm not talking about
a woman of the night.
I'm talking about a garden hoe.
Yeah. It's after the first plane struck and a lot of people went down to the lobby, security guards told them to go back up to their office, and it wasn't some conspiracy to get them all killed. It was just they actually thought that, like, the fire wasn't that bad. Or sorry, it was in the opposing tower.
Right.
The South Tower, when the North Tower was on fire, they told everyone in the South Tower, they're like, go back to your office, like it's fine. And people are like, well, if that building's on fire, what if it comes down? And at a certain point, you can't, like, rely on anyone else. You just got to go. There's a fire in the 110-story building next to my 110-story building. I'm just gonna take lunch early. Like, I'm just going home, right? There's no one's ever going to teach you how to think for yourself. You just have to do it. Like,
right.
I went to school at the University of Georgia, and in, like, the center of campus where, like, the stadium is and the huge library is, in the middle of, like, any Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in the middle of the day, it was just flooded. Like, that there's like a moment from, like, between, like, noon and 1 that it was just every day. It looked like a game day. It was just flooded. I just always made sure not to like be there because I was like, if there's ever a shooting, this is like one of the biggest schools in the South. That's where it's going to be. And after the first time trying to explain it to like someone that I walked with, like why I took the extra 5 minutes to sort of just kind of make a big circle, they were like, you're nuts. And I realized I was like, I can't convince anyone of this. There's really no purpose to. And the only time I'm ever going to say I was right is if the worst happened. So you just
Darwin would say you're right.
But ultimately you just have to go, I'm just going to take an extra 5 minutes to get to biology lab. And no one's ever going to confirm it for you. They're never going to say, oh, you know what, man, you were right. That guy that went into the library yesterday with that MG and mowed down 80 students, Tommy, you were right. And haha, I'm right. No, and now it's been 9 years and it never happened. It doesn't matter. I'd still do the same thing if I was there now. I would take the wide route around. You can't convince anyone. I had friends that, I won't name who, but like, I had friends that would, like Army guys that they'd put a pistol in their backpack. It was like 10 years in prison and instant expulsion if you had a weapon on campus. But I had friends who would have a gun. And I'd be like, dude, like, and I had a pistol in college. I never brought it to school. But I had friends that did it, and I'd be like, dude, that's like, they're like, well, when is anyone ever going to know I have this? And I'd be like, if you take it out. And they're like, and in what situation would I be taking this out? I was like, right, that's true. And they'd be like, I'd rather have to go stand on trial than just be cornered. Because a lot of these rooms, it was a 300-person history class, a 500-person OChem class. There's one entrance, and then it's just a big studio room. That's exactly.
And that happened, right? Wasn't it Virginia Tech?
That's exactly. Yeah, 33 killed. Yeah, the guy just went in and just headshots one after the other. So there is a certain level of just like you can bring it up and talk about it like we are in this podcast. But ultimately, it's not like I'm not going to spend a year doing podcasts and interviewing food processing managers and try to get to the bottom of this. No, I have my plans to like move up north where my family is out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains sooner than later. And just maybe I'm wrong about maybe it's the same thing as UGA. Maybe in 10 years I go, there really was no food shortage. Or it's like, you called it. All those people starved to death and the cities fell. I owe you a Coke, Tom. Like, no, they're all going to be dead.
Well, that's the whole thing about prepping mentality, though. It's like if nothing ever happens, you get stuck with a bunch of stuff that, you wind up giving to the homeless or something later.
Oh, no.
But if things go terribly wrong, then you're ready.
Yeah.
Or you're as ready as you can be. I'm not sure you can be ready for anything. I think that if this is a controlled collapse and that, Klaus is sitting there, going over his plan, then they've war gamed everything out to the point where they're pretty sure of everything that's going to happen. And at that point, what do? You just got to make the best of what you can do. But to your point, I think that you can waste a lot of energy at this point trying to convince other people. If the number of things that the quote unquote conspiracy theorists have been talking about for the last 20 years, if you look at, what Alex Jones, I don't know why Alex's War has not come out yet, because I've seen it. I've gone to a screening of it. It was already supposed to drop. It's really a great film, because one of the things that Alex Lee Moyer does in that film is that she does a great job of showing what Alex was talking about 20 years ago and tyranny. How it's all happening right now. She does a really great job of that. And I highly recommend the movie to anybody when it comes out. But the energy, if people have not woken up at this point to what's going on, it's clearly because they've been hypnotized, and it's because the psychological warfare program, started by William Sarnoff Daniel Sarnoff and Paley, back in the 40s, worked. That FBI director who said that he will know that he's succeeded at his job when the American people, believe every lie they see on television.
CIA director.
William
Casey, I think.
William Casey. I don't think that was a misquote.
No, not. That's not something you miss. No, a misquote is saying George Jeb instead of George Webb. It's saying Dieter Pook instead of Peter Duke. It's not saying our misinformation program will be complete when everything the American public believes is false. You don't. Right. That's not. It's Lee Harvey wasn't just dry firing and something went wrong. Right. Or unless it was Jackie, but he went out to kill him. Like there was no. This wasn't just. Man, 9/11, that was the fucking day of all days when 4 pilots just lost control of their planes. Like, no, it's what it was, right? Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean,
well, Tommy, think of it from my perspective. Think of it my perspective. I've done this show with Peter Duke now for years and years. This is the first week, right, that I make finally make the top story. And we do the whole show and we don't talk about that story. It's one of those things where you
show's not over, George.
Wait, you research the coronavirus. You find the answer, and then they go, and now for the commercial.
And then they bring in me. They bring in the clown. Duke's been compromised.
No, I know. It's just one of those. It's one of those ironies of life.
I think I think we perhaps need to.
Well, George, do you want to talk about the lead story on the Duke Report?
Yes. Say you want to talk about it without saying you.
All right.
I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I finally made it after 8 years of slaving away in the salt mines of Salzburg.
The salt mines of the Peter Duke Mining Company.
There we go. I'm just trying to get the Duke Report to show up here. Hang on a second, and then we can bring this up and we can talk about it.
I just like the idea of Peter Duke being
there. It is right up at the top, George.
I like the idea of you being like a plantation owner, and like your plantation's called like the Report, and every day you just have slaves going out and bringing in stories, and it's all for the Duke Report.
It would be if you clicked on any of these links and it went to any of my content.
My good people, they come work on the farm and they make the Duke Report happen.
And there are websites that do that. By the way, I've done a lot of research on this. There are websites that just suck other people's content into their websites.
Yeah.
But this website is not one of these. You're looking at all of the content on the Duke Report that is from other people. And when you click on the link, like if I go up here to the exposing the dark hand of NATO there, this does not go to the Duke Report. This goes to George Webb. Okay.
Thank you.
George, take it away. I'll be right back.
And everybody says I use too much graphics.
Well, producer Carrie would tell you that if you used one graphic, you would get 400% the engagement on your.
I use a graphic every paragraph.
I know you do.
But I was on a train, unfortunately, on this one. So, and so I only had the mobile version of Substack. But anyway, there it is, folks. Read it.
So what are people going to find out when they read this story, George?
Well, they'll see a quick summary of my work to try to find the source of the coronavirus. And see, there people are chiming in, Peter, that they're glad. Connie's chiming in that they're glad I finally made it to the top. And they're going to get a quick summary of how.
Well, you can thank producer Carrie for that because she made me get out of bed to do that.
God bless her. God bless her heart. So I think this was one I normally like to do, like almost like mini books, like pamphlets on my Substack, where you run out of space and they go, you cannot add one more byte, otherwise you will not be able to mail this. So I normally do that, but this one was written on the train because I was going to go into Italy, and I thought I better leave an audit trail here just in case the Benassis decide it's time to send me to a re-education camp. But
right, and if you disappear, there won't be any likely suspects, right?
Right. Yeah. But Tommy, like Tommy said, the FEMA camps never materialized in America. So, I don't know. We don't have the FEMA camps yet, but actually we do have the FEMA camps. They don't have enough resistance yet.
Well, here's what I think is going on. I think that part of the reason that they're blowing. So I worked for a homeless organization 10 years ago for 2 years. I shot pictures. I went around the country and I photographed America's indigent community. And I spent a lot of time in homeless centers, and I met a lot of people who ran homeless organizations. And the woman that ran the organization eventually folded up the organization. She was giving clean drinking water to America's homeless. And she said, water isn't that expensive. I don't really need to go raise money to give water away. I'll keep giving the homeless water, but I'm not going to go through all the machinations of, having a 501c3 and having to do all the reporting and then having to shake out rich people down for money. So she had a noble reason for kind of wrapping it up. But ultimately, the reason that she stopped doing it is because she realized that most of these homeless organizations are not trying to help the homeless. They're in a lot of ways, they're exacerbating the situation. And so why am I talking about homelessness? Because I think that maybe the Cloward Piven of it all, right, is to make the homeless situation so terrible that these FEMA camps wind up becoming the reason why the homeless problem winds up becoming the reason that the population decides that having these FEMA camps is a great idea. And so the first thing that they'll do is they'll take all the homeless off the street and they'll put them in the camps. And once they've normalized everybody to the idea that putting people in camps is okay, then they'll notch up the social credit score system in order to move, the next tranche into the camps and the next tranche into the camps and the next tranche into the camps.
There's a lot to support what you're saying because, the last time I was in LA, I couldn't believe, how bad it had gotten just in front of every big business. And I'm talking about the best institutions. And I don't know how it is the last year. I haven't been out there in the last
I'll
year.
show you in 1 second.
I don't think I'm dreaming it up.
No, you're not. The store Kitson, I have to go, maybe producer Carrie can help me find a link. The store Kitson, which is famously a place Paris Hilton used to pimp back in the day when Instagram was first starting. They post, basically people are doing smash and grabs. Like a group of people will go into a store, a jewelry store. In this case, it was a video that went up this morning. I think it happened yesterday in Beverly Hills, where a group of people walk into a boutique glass, one of these glasses stores that sells very expensive glasses frames. They walk in with a bunch of bats and they start smashing all the glass and pulling all the glasses and putting it into bags. Police are on their way, right? It's in the private chat. All right, here we go. Private chat. Let me stop sharing this.
I think that's actually a brilliant point. To be a total creeper, I turn my lights down. I've got a terrible allergy headache. I think what they're going to do is, I'd never thought of that. I think that's brilliant. They're going to use the home. It's going to be a social program, and everyone's going to be like, that's something we can all get on the sides of. It's, it's left and right, let's give a place for the homeless to live. And honestly, I would even say now there's probably a lot of homeless people that couldn't give less of a shit if it's a government camp. They would just go to, and I've never been homeless. I can't speak on that. I think what will probably happen next it will be the combination of inflation and destruction of the food supply. It will probably be like subsidized food, subsidized meals. But you have to go there. That's the only way they can keep it cheap is they can't deliver to your house. So you come stay there. It'll just be kind of public housing.
Because it creates too much carbon.
Yeah, okay, something along those lines.
Here's the video. It's 21 seconds long. Here we go. This is Beverly Hills. Good commercial for that glass company.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just like a gun. Just get a gun.
Right. Well, there's a lot of comments on this too.
Well, there's a lot of gun laws. Okay, get a blowtorch. I mean, go medieval.
You don't actually need a concealed carry permit to actually have a gun in a business.
Well, yeah, I just like a battle axe, something. Hit them with a car, light them. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, does it not? And again, it's not something you want to be like right about. Like, ha! I told you it's the end of the world. But I mean,
I don't think there's anybody. I don't think George wants to be right about anything that he's right about.
Of course not. And I'm not saying that you guys do, but I mean, like, I can't help but part of me is like, I mean, the election was fortified at 3 a.m, and I think it was to bring in a Manchurian candidate to demolish the United States because he can't take on the military head on. So it's being brought down from within. I mean, I don't think at any point you can say that there isn't a controlled demolition, from increased censorship to the absolute raping of any sort of geopolitical border, inflation, and just lessening of even the guy that charged Dave Chappelle was let off on camera, charged him. Does this not seem like a top-down demolition of society? Because if America is the strongest nation, you take that out, like people aren't. A lot of people are stupid. I take that back. A lot of people are stupid. Oh, I hope this. Thought this was going to be a live leak video. But like people know what's going on, and they're just letting it happen. Does this not seem like the top-down demolition of a society? Like,
it is.
Like, because I'm a psychopath, I used to love like building like a huge city in SimCity in like middle school with like my brothers, and then I would like save it, and I would just make copies of it, and I would just in different ways destroy my city. I would just defund the fire department, and then I would just like accelerate the timeline and see what happened over a couple of years. I'd build a nuclear power plant, and then I'd fire the whole like maintenance team, and eventually my city would become Chernobyl.
So if you dig back into the kind of conspiracies, Will Wright, who was the guy who wrote SimCity, was he talks about this in interviews, was inspired by a guy named Jay Forrester. Jay Forrester was the head of, I want to say it's called System Dynamics, or I'm trying to remember what the name of the discipline was. And that Will Wright basically, and again, the story is Will Wright was inspired by this guy. In my way of looking at the high octane speculation, this computer programmer was said, there's this guy, Jay Forrester, he has this thing called System Dynamics. You need to create a game, and we'll give you this DARPA grant to go do that. And the cover will be that you're going to start, it's going to be a video game, and then we're going to productize it. You're going to give it to a company like Electronic Arts, and they're going to make a bunch of money with it. But what we're really going to do is we're going to use it as, we're going to use the data that we collect from this game in order to figure out, our future planning.
SimCity was in the guys in San Francisco, because they were over there by the train station. They were my customer. I can't remember who bought SimCity.
I think
EA eventually bought them.
EA, okay,
yeah. But
there was another company where they were selling the tractors, the virtual tractors.
Yeah,
maybe I'm thinking of Farm
Simulator. I think a lot of those are EA.
Farmville. Was it called Farmville?
Yeah, Farmville was later. Yeah.
George, can you tell us about your story that I rudely cut off when I ran to the bathroom?
Oh no, it's out there on Substack. Check it out. It's the most important story in the world.
Now you're playing hard to get. Now you're playing hard to get.
No, I'm not. It's the most important story in the world that affects every man. It affects every man, woman, and child for not just now, but for the rest of your life. It also predicts
fluids.
The next pandemic. It's the most important information you'll ever read. And there you go. Just that. Plus, it's awfully fun.
So here's Jay Forrester jumping back to.
I want to hear George's story.
Well, Okay,
No,
well,
no, I'm gonna get more specific.
let's talk about it again then, George. Let's do that.
No. I like system dynamics. I like system dynamics. I like the feedback loop. There was a lot of simulation games where you would just go, either you would throw in a random number generator or you would throw in a history file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and those were your two ways of doing a simulation. And this was an early idea, which is you would have subunits, and then there would be a formula in between the subunits that would say, if you do this too much, that this leaks four turns later, it leaks back into, X leaks back into Y. And there you go. There's kind of a graph that shows that.
Yeah.
With a feedback loop. And that was really a big thing because that mapped real life. And like what Peter's saying is DARPA doesn't want to map stuff that isn't really real life. They want to map real life. And to your point, Tommy, if you do fire all the firemen, the town does burn down. If you fire all the nuclear guys, the Homer Simpsons, the nuclear plant does melt down. And that cleverly was built into these programs. Farmville had that sort of thing, and SimCity was the first one. So,
Maxis was.
Oh yeah,
Will Wright's company. Yeah, Will Wright and Jeff Braun, 1987.
Mine is called Virus World, the one I've written, and it shows that if you don't actually find the dark hand of NATO, that after the first simulation, the world population is 95% wiped out with H5N1. So that's what the simulations are saying so far, but I have an algorithm that saves most of the world, and you got to read the Substack, though.
Can you tell me?
Well, what do you want to say? I mean, I list out 9 guys that are the key guys, 9 Benassis that are the key people that if you figure this out, if you figure out the dark hand, it's only 9 people, folks, and it's all the same surname, right? You win. The H5N1 doesn't happen.
You only need one page in the phone book.
You only need one. The old days, the detectives, Jack Nicholson in Chinatown, he'd put a ruler down, he'd rip out.
Now, do you think that? So if they planned all of this, do you think that this is part of the plan then to pin it on? Because doesn't that just being devil's advocate or playing the other side? Don't you think it's a little too simple that it's all one name? I don't doubt that that's what you found and that's what it's put out there to be. But don't you think it would be like if the Machiavellian hand behind this, wouldn't that be a credible way to discredit it? To be like, oh, what are the chances that it's all Carrigans? Like, wouldn't you want to put that for so the smooth brain people would go, like me, you can't all be Benassis. Wouldn't you want to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that was going to be all Machiavellis, but they said, if it's all Machiavellis, everybody's going to get it.
Yeah.
So let's make it Benassi. And they just did a random, substitute. And they didn't think about the fact that there's like 12 Machiavellis. And this is what we ended up with. It was one of those simulations that didn't have the feedback loop, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And if it did, maybe this wouldn't have been so easy to look at. But my big point here is the ex-CDC guy who ran the last simulation that locked down the world, and there was only 5 million dead there, but he is saying that there is an H5N1 coming. Do we believe him or do we not? I think what we may have done in the first round is inoculate some people with a very effective vaccine and given other people a very ineffective vaccine. And that's our selection algorithm. And then people who've resisted vaccines, they're going to get washed out. But let's see what happens. Either way, it's sort of like the person who goes into a Walmart with an AK-47 strapped on their back. They can be a real threat if they decide to go linear, wouldn't it be better to kind of disarm them, and say, yeah, you can't really do that, rather than just say, hey, I have a whole bunch of ammo that I can give you. And we have this group that did the last one, the live simulation. And I'm not saying that 5 million people died for real. I think they moved a lot of people from the flu column into the COVID column. But certainly some people died of COVID. And I think the next one's going to be worse, just like Redfield said.
George, what's your opinion on, or what are your thoughts on, like, the mask seems to be slipping off a little more, and whenever the mask slips off, I've just gone paranoid, but I don't really think it is what it is anymore, if that makes sense. So when I see them coming out all of a sudden saying, like, the J&J vaccine, we're halting it because it's dangerous, and you have Bill Gates coming out like 2 or 3 days ago being like, we're actually kind of finding out that COVID really only has a very low mortality rate, and even then it's for the elderly people. And, like, at the base level, it's gaslighting. It's getting people like me to say, like, that's what I've been screaming for 2 years. Or the head of the disinformation program saying,
you kicked me off of YouTube for saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the head of the disinformation program, like, retweeted one of her tweets from 2 years ago, and it was like, how come no one ever mentioned anything about the J&J vaccine? Maybe we wouldn't have got it if we had been informed. And, like, I almost had an aneurysm. Like, and then I was like, wait, they want this reaction out of you. But so what is the maneuvering behind having Bill Gates come out and all of a sudden saying, yeah, it's not that bad? What is that? Is it just to change a narrative? Is it to clean up their own tracks?
I think everything, all these really ridiculous people making these absolutely insane statements, like AOC with the Green Plan, or, what's her name, the Tlaib, with her statements, the squad type statements. And before that, it was Keith Ellison and different people on the right. It's just to dossier people. It's just to capture their reaction in social media and create a dossier and say they're extremists.
Yeah. So
and lower their social.
Honeypot slaughter pen. Honeypot slaughter pen.
Yeah. I got that song. Honeypot slaughter pen. Yeah, it's a slaughter pen.
Yeah, it's like
that's how they think.
I can't think of anything right now that's not that, right? Like, even if there was a lesson from the Cambridge Analytica story, right? The quiz that Cambridge Analytica perpetrated on the world was not done by Cambridge Analytica. It was done by a PhD student who was trying to design a social media experiment to get as many people to self-identify their political biases as possible.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly successful. Like 52 million people did it without, and it was completely viral. He didn't spend any money promoting it, right? It was a genius kind of quiz that the guy wrote, and Cambridge Analytica bought it from him. That was the crime. But it was a brilliant piece of software because it got all of these people to self-identify, and now you had 52 million people dossier themselves.
They had a thing in Oregon. I think, Peter, you tweeted it, where in Oregon, Kate Brown required tampons to be put in the boys' bathrooms. This is
in elementary schools.
Yeah, and they must have a gender lecture every day about how they can make it. They can always change their gender. This is the kind of thing where every Republican God-fearing family would go, I want to know who my candidate is today, and I'm going to send him $1,000.
Yeah.
It's just an inflammatory thing that's just going to make people take action and send money. And then all that money gets funneled back to the DNC or the RNC. It's just a dog whistle to drain the cash from the electorate every 2 years.
Yeah.
And
it is, and their mind share, and to give them some more hopium, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Producer Carrie is reading Robert Cialdini's book Influence right now, and she's kind of laughing out loud at it, because when you read that book and then you look at all of the kind of schemes that are being perpetrated on people by politicians, 2000 Mules is out right now. Okay. And I tweeted out the last paragraph in the story that was written by the people who released the movie about how they hope that this will affect legislation in the future. Like, no one's going to jail because of this movie, right? No one's getting indicted because of this movie. But Dinesh D'Souza is going to make a lot of money, okay? And the people that helped Dinesh D'Souza are going to raise a lot of money. I unregistered to vote when I found out that between November 3rd and January 6th, Donald Trump split with the GOP the $280 million that was raised in order to stop the steal. Ali Alexander famously says, I didn't get that money. Like, I know Ali didn't get that money, but Donald Trump got half of the $280 million, and Romney McDaniel, she got the other half. The RNC got the other half. And they spent exactly none of that money fighting any of the quote unquote election fraud. So,
wow, that's disappointing. Yeah. I need to think
it may be disappointing, but are you surprised? Because basically it's exactly what you just said, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I need until at least Tuesday to think of a countermeasure. And I don't have it right now. But Connie says, don't give your money to politicians. I guess I would agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, I do believe in giving money to people who are trying to do the investigation and trying to get the facts out and trying to expose it.
I think that the work that we're doing is kind of like, there's not a lot of noble work being done right now, right. And one of the things that is kind of a meme that's going around is that, like I said, I was listening to the Computing Forever guy, who's on the Duke Report. He's an Irish guy, and we were talking about this earlier before you got on, Tommy. But like, the time to try to convince people that you understand what's going on and that things are not adding up is probably over. If people want to come to you and ask you what's going on, I mean, part of the reason I put together the Duke Report, if you click on the 101 section or the Tommy Carrigan section and you go read a few books, you might be a lot more aware of the framework in which information gets presented to you in the world. But going around and standing on street corners, there was a guy, I went to the farmer's market today, and there was a guy standing on the corner, and he said, do you want to help save the planet? And I if I had thought about it quicker, I would have just gone into, I need to memorize the George Carlin Save the Planet routine, which maybe we can play when we roll out of here today. But producer Carrie can find me a link. But I felt like saying the planet doesn't need to be saved. Okay, we need to be saved. The planet is fine.
Planet's absolutely fine.
The planet is just doing great. Yeah.
Even when they're like, if we nuke the whole world, the planet will be irreparably. I'm like, no, you'll kill the biosphere, but the rock that is the world will be just fine.
Right. And you got to wonder about the predictive programming of video games too. Mm-hmm. Like, this is Fallout Las Vegas. Like, Fallout is all about like nuclear fallout, but it could, these people all have kind of these masks on that could be like for biological warfare or whatever. I just noticed this guy's got his wedding ring on over his combat gloves, which is kind of funny.
An important statement, because you don't want anybody, hitting on him, while he's in battle.
Absolutely. Exactly. Hey, he took a vow. Yeah. He may be popping domes, but he took a vow, damn it.
Exactly. Popping domes.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think about Nanny Jacobson's book, DARPA. One of the things we did, like, I think the U.S. Army did it. It was in, I want to say it was in some Eurasian country. Maybe it was like India or something in the 50s or 60s. We, like, outfitted all their men with, like, new uniforms. And just one of the trillions of dollars we've spent on other nations' armies. But it was outfitting them with new uniforms, and they had to like 100,000 men over the course of like a month had to go through this like U.S. Army like fitting station. They measured their feet, like their waist, their chest, you know, your height, how you need the uniform. You know, are you left-handed, right-handed? Are you blah blah blah? And then it was also, just as an aside, it was like your last name, what village you're from, and what are your views of the current king or something. And the whole thing was just for that. It was just to get a gauge of what do these people think of their leader. The rest was all windowed. Yeah, we'll give them new uniforms, and who gives a shit? It was never about that. It was about
in the Phoenix program. By Doug Valentine, the first thing the CIA did when they went into Vietnam is they sent.
That's what it's from. That's what it's from.
They sent census takers.
Yeah, yeah. I've interviewed Doug Valentine a couple times. That's where it's from. It's from the Phoenix program.
They sent census takers.
Yeah. I often think about that, like something like Twitter or Facebook. You just openly, all you got to do is throw out a piece of bait.
Yeah.
You know, AOC said this, Donald Trump said that. And then you can get everyone to just react towards it. You just get everyone to, you know, I don't have to put out a survey and say who's heterosexual and who's homosexual. I can just like put out a picture of a beautiful woman, and you could see how many guys viewed that page. You could put out a picture of a handsome man and see how many guys viewed that page. There's your answer with a much greater degree of accuracy.
Right.
So I think about like how many things out there are we just like willingly sort of defining ourselves and dossiering ourselves by, and then other things like Instagram or Twitter using hashtags. Like, is there not like a meta function to that? Are we not just training AI on how to identify and categorize things? Is that all it is? Just like hashtag fitness or hashtag whatever? And then to kind of go like another step, is that what Elon buying Twitter really is? Because I like the idea of Elon. I love the idea of, he wants to say free speech, but that's just my own hopium. Or is it because he's also involved with Neuralink and AI? Does he want the closest thing to a real-time brain out there? See what we're interested in, the things we like.
I don't believe that there is a better data set in the world for doing real-time semantic, doing real-time it's not semantic. It's George and I were talking about this last week.
Psychographic,
but there's a specific word and it's leaving my brain right now. Sentiment. Sentiment analysis is a big deal. Understanding in Hollywood, there used to be this place called the Preview House, and they would show you commercials and films, and it was very rudimentary. You would have a knob, and if you liked something, you turned it in one direction, and if you didn't like it, you turned it in the other direction. So it was really only a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing. But if you read a book called Linked by Antonio Barabasi, which is also on the Duke Report, he explains that the connections between nodes have data associated with it, which are losing words again. Anyway, sentiment analysis is a big deal. And understanding whether or not people have a warm and fuzzy feeling or a negative feeling about different ideas, thoughts, political things. My guess is that there is no better mechanism for determining how people are receiving political messages on the planet than Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter is it. And if Twitter never made a dime, that's why the Elon Musk buying it is such a big deal, because it's not really about making money. And all the news reports right now are about how Elon Musk is going to turn it around. It's going to turn it into a profitable business and all this other stuff. And that's all covered to me.
Yeah.
Because Twitter is a sentiment analysis monster.
Yeah. It's Instagram, Facebook.
And have you seen where he's talking about buying YouTube?
No, he didn't say that, did he?
Yeah.
Bullshit. What I was going to say is
Google it.
I will.
Peter.
Facebook.
What's interesting about that, George, is that confirms something that we've talked about for years, which is that these companies don't make money, okay, and that they are military DARPA programs, okay, that have been either used as money laundries for other programs in order to funnel all that stuff into the digital inventory that they've got. They can claim, they can take money that they've made from selling weapons or human trafficking or selling drugs. They can call it advertising, right? Because how does the IRS really know how many ads Google served last month? They don't. How do they audit it? They can't. Okay, so like any company that's selling digital inventory, somebody ran a scam on my Apple credit card. I had my American Express card hooked up to my iTunes store, and over months, okay, doing it like a small transaction at a time, they pulled $29,000 out of my American Express card over about 2.5 years. And when I finally figured it out, I called up American Express, and you know what they did? They gave me my $29,000 back like that.
Yeah.
Like one phone call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, and you know why they did? Because everything that the Apple store sold me was digital, right? There was nothing that got put in a box and shipped to my house.
Yeah.
So American Express had no problem giving me all the money back and handing Apple a bill and saying, fix this.
Amex is, in a way, kind of like a cool personal mafia. Like, if someone takes money from you, they are kind of like a fat Italian cousin with a bat. They just get it. They're like, how'd you get it back so quick? Like, don't worry about it. You're like, thanks. But what I was thinking is, like, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, that's primarily like picture. And then something like YouTube or Rumble, that's even slower. That's video. But yeah, Twitter is like that's like the synapses of like the global mind. It's very
Instagram. If you think about it, I mean, George and I, when I first met George, part of the reason that I got involved in journalism, as it were, is because photographs are a way. There is no faster way to change somebody's opinion or give somebody go straight to their reptile brain than a still image.
Yeah.
Like a video you've got to watch, a song you've got to get to the point where your foot is tapping. You know, something's got to happen. A still image goes boom straight in, and you have a reaction. If it's a well executed image, then you react to it immediately. Which is why I'm in the movie Hoaxed, because I'm talking about that in the movie Hoaxed.
I googled, George. I didn't see anything about Elon Musk and YouTube.
No? Okay.
Oh.
That's my next watch it flag.
Yep. So sentiment analysis is a thing for people who want to check it out. I've got that there.
You know, and maybe that's just hoax media, you know, so that like, okay.
Buying YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even something like YouTube, like hasn't Google run YouTube at a loss for like 18 straight years or something?
I think Google's making money now. I mean, YouTube's making money with the ads.
No, but even then, isn't it still run at a loss? And then you have to wonder, well, what's the value of it? Well, it's control of the narrative.
I'm not sure that that's true. To George's point, if Melissa Dykes did a video that's on the Duke Report called "Is the Internet Shrinking?" And one of the things that I think Alphabet is doing with Google and YouTube is that they are training their search results. Part of the reason that there's like a dozen search engines on the Duke Report is because if you go and you try to find something on Google now, it's you don't get 90% of the results that you used to get. And that's why using alternate search engines is kind of really important right now. And likewise, I think on YouTube, I don't think that you have to really dig. There's a video, for example, and when Tracy and I did our first episode of the Reality OS, we pulled it up, and it's the video it's the Zapruder film playing, and they've got the description of the Zapruder film by Dan Rather in the lower right-hand corner of the video, and it we got flagged. We got flagged for putting something violent on the Reality OS, and it's the Zapruder film. And there are 500 Zapruder film copies on YouTube, but the one that we picked is the one that's got Dan Rather on the in the lower right-hand corner, describing the exact opposite of what's happening on the screen. And if you go, I've got it bookmarked now, because if you go into YouTube and you type in Dan Rather Zapruder film, you have to go through like 15 pages of Zapruder films to get to that one. It's you can't find it anymore. So why am I saying this? Because I think that what YouTube has done is that they've gradually changed the search results to the point where you're looking at stuff that's monetized. Okay, they're giving you stuff that they can make money selling ads on.
Yeah.
Okay, for the first 10 pages. And if you want to go find something that they have demonetized or they don't think that they can make a lot of money on, it's going to be really, really hard to find.
Yeah, more and more.
Yeah.
And I saw YouTube is the second most used search engine, not just video search engine, but second
Just
most
search engine.
used search engine. So
That makes sense.
yeah. Well, gentlemen,
Connie says I had a black American Express card. No, I didn't.
There you go. All these rumors. I got up at like 3 and in one side of another country, and now I'm here, so I'm like on last legs.
All right.
You gonna play us out?
Yeah, I'm going to play us out. So tell people I put links to how you guys make money, although the only thing I could find from Tommy was his store, and I put it in the show notes. I put a link below to how you support George, which is how do people support you, George?
GEOWEBB on Venmo, and then you can see on my Twitter, George Swigert, George SWEIGERT. And all contributions, even if it's $5, appreciated. But we're going on the road and talking to the people where the stories are made and not sitting in our grandmother's basement.
And Tommy, how do the people support you?
Just go to Rumble.
Rumble.
Just subscribe to the podcast. Share the podcast.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe go into a bank and start firing wildly. And when you get arrested, I just yell out the URL. Something big, If you're going to go to jail, if you're going to, I don't know, use the podcast and maybe tag some federal institutions in it. Whatever. Go
big.
Just go big. I mean, really.
Hack the scoreboard at the Super Bowl and just say, Tommy Carrigan Podcast Rumble.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, run out into Times Square just with not wearing nothing but an iPad and just be playing my channel. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Try to. I don't know. I don't want to get visited by that.
Let your conscience be your.
You use your imagination and let the Spirit of God direct you. Not me. I'm not telling you what to do. Let God tell you what to do.
Indeed. All right. And with that, there's no better advice. We'll let George Carlin take us out of here. All right. See you later, guys.
All right, my dudes.
Thanks everybody.
Take it easy.